Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Adobe Lightroom. So let's dive deep into it. Now, this is not a tutorial. This is more of like if you are heard of this puppy Lightroom and you're not sure why the heck is such a big deal, and if you are getting a camera recently, I'm reasonably sure somebody would have said, hey, get a Lightroom. So what the hell it is? So this is an old software. It was first launched a stable version, as in like not beta, in basically Windows in February 2007. So this is old puppy, and this is a tool that is specifically made for photographer. Can you do Photoshop in Photoshop? Yes, obviously, but here's the deal. That tool is more for an artist. This tool is more for a photographer, and there are certain differences here. Now, two primary purpose of Lightroom that basically Photoshop cannot do is basically image organization and manipulation. While you can manipulate any image to your heart content in Photoshop, you can't organize it. Now, image organization is a very big deal. While I'm not a very avid photographer, I just do it for a hobby. But I still have, if I'm not mistaken, 30,000 photos from like 2011, and there are people who have like millions of photos. So if you do not have good organization, yeah, good luck. And many times people say WhatsApp photos becomes nothing simply because it was not organized. It was not kept in a repository. Repository was never backed up. So they had nothing. So this is the two core principle of Lightroom. Organize the damn thing, manipulate to the heart's content, and everything done in one spot. And it also is fine-tuned for batch processing, meaning let's say you have 2 or 3 cameras, and each camera will have a signature. Each lens combination will have a quote-unquote feel to it, and you may find, hey, I have this Sigma lens. Photos that are coming out of it is bit warm, like bit. And again, be mindful, photos are half art, so you do not need scientific accuracy. What does it look good? Like how does it feel? That's more important. So you may be like, you know what, if I'm shooting from Sigma, I may tune it such a way that it's a bit cooler, just a little bit cooler, just a hair cooler. You can do that, and you can do that in batch processing, meaning you can process thousands of images. So it's inherently designed for that sort of use case, and you can get this puppy for 800 rupees, like few dollars per month. So again, there used to be perpetual license, but that's a whole gone era. So right now you have to pay this much money per month. Not too bad. And this works on way too many devices. That's another good aspect of it. It works on Windows, Android, iOS, and Mac. Android meaning you can use Android tablets and mobile phones, and iOS same thing. iPhones can be used, and iPads also, Mac also. So it's a surprisingly well taken care of. And it also supports multi-monitor, meaning if you have 2 monitor, and let's say one monitor is very color accurate, very precise in terms of its color rendition, you can just use it for your main preview and do all the editing and management in the second screen. So you can increase your yield. So what's the logic behind it? Logic behind the software is very simple. It starts with catalog. Catalog is this puppy basically. You make a catalog, and ideally you dump everything in there. Now back in the days, the catalog software algorithm basically that was mapping everything was not very powerful. So it could chug a little bit if you had like few million photos. Nowadays you can go to bonkers numbers of photos. So ideally at this point in time, just put everything in one catalog. You could change it, like if you are working in a field where like one photo should never mix with another one, you can do that, but you have to remember where are the catalogs, how it's kept. So generally it's a, at this point in time, known thing where it's like, dude, put everything in one catalog. Now what do you do in catalog? Catalog starts with importing. You dump your file, you rate the file, and you can add keywords here. Now these two are very important aspect, meaning if you have looked into your cameras, especially mirrorless or DSLR or these sort of puppies, I'm reasonably sure you must have noticed that there is a function in every camera. It's rate the photo, and it has star signs. There are 5 stars, like nothing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do that. Now here's the why. Well, that function is inbuilt into the file metadata. That metadata can be read by Lightroom, can be read by your camera, can be read by basically everything else. Basically, it's a default sort of structure. So rating allows you to filter things out. Meaning, for example, let's say you are shooting a lot of photos. Most likely you will do that, but you sit down on your camera and you can rate it right there. It's like, or sometimes people are like, hey, because it's a very high turn around kind of scenario where it's like you're taking photo and you just have a feeling the photo I just took right now, it's really good, like especially like batsman hitting the ball or something very precise. You're like, just go into the library of your camera, rated right there, 5 star. So when you import everything in the catalog, you can just filter it out, which are the 5 stars, get them out of the door, get them developed, get them published as quickly as possible. So rating is the first thing. Keyword is also very useful, and you can have multiple keywords. Again, Windows supported. You can have keywords that are very basic, is like what the hell is happening. If you are dealing with a bride and groom kind of scenario, you can have keywords on that like marriage this year and name of bride and groom. So surprisingly a lot. And be mindful, if you add love in this stage, it will help you in future. And this is very interesting aspect of it. It's non-destructive editing, meaning in Photoshop, if you are not careful, you can rasterize an image, and at that point, poof, you have done destructive editing. Here you inherently cannot do that. That's why I said it was designed for photographer. It's fundamentally everything that you're seeing, image is treated as raw files, even JPEG. If you are using a point and shoot camera and the files are JPEG, does not matter. The file is treated as source file. Source file will not be tampered with. And if you have raw, that's awesome. At that point in time, raw files are always safe. Everything that you are seeing, you have to understand, raw is just a bunch of data. It's not a complete image container. That's why every company has a different basically container, quote unquote. Canon has different container, Nikon has different container, Sony has different container, but all of them create JPEG because JPEG is an image format. Raw actually means nothing. So that's why every company has their own quote unquote proprietary format. Now Adobe did try to create a different ecosystem where they're like every company hopefully use DNG. That did not catch on, so to say. So this is another aspect of it. Like if you take a photo, go YOLO on it, do whatever the heck you want to do it, and then like you send it to printer and printers are like, bro, you increase the exposure too much. You can come back, change the exposure, no problem. Completely non-destructive. And you export it to whatever format you need to. Now be mindful, it's not as exclusive or like as thorough as Photoshop obviously, but it does have few popular formats, be it PNG, be it JPEG, be it Targa, this sort of things. And you can select it, and then you can even print it out or send it to client. That's up to you. So that's the logic behind the system. You have everything in one catalog, you rate it, you keyword it, and then you non-destructively edit it, and then you export the output to whoever needs it. Basically, you need to send it to print house, you need to send it to someone's WhatsApp feed, go YOLO on it, or Instagram feed. Today is very important for that sort of things nowadays. You have to make sure that you have a very quick Instagram feed structure. So let's look at the first line, the importing. Now you can import it directly from card. You plug your card in and directly import into your catalog. Now importing means it's copying the file and dumping it into your hard drive or whatever SSD you have. So that's the importing. Be mindful, because Lightroom is such a big software, and the fact that not everybody was like, from day one I had this software. Lightroom has a very unique tools now, I said, where you can use old photos also, meaning let's say you just found out a random old card. I did Magic Gate card I found, and it had a lot of photos. I can still import them. It does not need to be right card. It can even be in your hard drive itself. It could be placed in some other place and you're like, oh damn, I did not realize I have backed up all the files here. You can clone it. It can be done. So it has no limitations like it has to be from card. It's like, it's the easiest. It was designed to work around it. But there are other buttons like copy, move, add. Experiment with those puppies, and that will give you any and everything that you need to. And try not to use move, because move removes from place. So try not to use move. Copy and add, GG. And copy as DNG. I used to do that, but now I find it kind of unnecessary. Again, DNG was a format that hopefully Adobe was hoping that it will become the quote unquote the next thing. It did not. So I'm not sure at this point in time that it has any value, but it's up to you. Generally not necessary. You don't need to, and it does take some compute power. Ironically, now I have a better computer and I'm not doing this. So it is what it is. Now this is the first line of management, meaning the moment you are importing, if you do your things right at that point in time, everything will be fine. Meaning the software knows this for a fact that everybody thinks that they are very smart, and the software was designed in such a way that it's like, no bro, you dumb. Okay, trust me, you dumb. So I'm gonna organize everything. Now how the heck I know how to organize? I don't. I just use date, and the date format is this. This is as clever as like, holy damn, when I realized it, like how clever it is. Now you have to understand this. The reason this format works for every numerical system, as in like if you have file going into a server, if you have file going into some cloud storage, going file into mobile phone, if you have a setting like orange by name, this will always work. Why? This is the biggest unit, second biggest unit, third biggest unit. Basically, this is like a pyramid that goes smaller. So what is the first thing you say in this format? Year, which year it is, 2018, 2019, whatever have you. Directly you already narrowed it down. Then you come to month. You already narrowed down which month it is, like from year, month, and then you have date. Basically how exactly we read basically in terms of use, we always read address from bottom. Basically first thing, which country? Okay, Australia. Okay, awesome. Then you read the city. Okay, Sydney. Then P. Sharma 40 Waldeway of Sydney or something like that. Then you do something like that. So that's the whole idea of it. So this basically algorithm will create a master folder where it will just dump everything, and it will be dumped in this format. So first folder would be year, second folder inside that would be months, then it will be exactly date. So everything super easy, organized. Do not tamper with this, do not go YOLO on it, do not name this thing. Let this be as simple as possible. Trust me, your future version will thank you. Then we come to another aspect. You can rename the files also, and trust me, this personally boils my blood that camera still cannot do this, is that I cannot do something like this in camera file itself. I would have loved to do that. I do not want Lightroom to do it for me, but again, I have to. So this is my format system that I'm using. You have to create this, bit tedious. So you have go date, year, dash, date, month, dat, date, day, then you underscore, hour, dot, minute, dot, second, and then original number suffix, meaning camera suffix. Now the reason for this camera suffix is, even though I have this much data there, is that if your camera has burst mode, second would be repeated in multiple files, so computer would be confused. So camera sequence bypasses that issue. Now if you have this data, organization is super easy. Even if you find the file randomly like 8 or 10 years from now, or 50 years from now, or 100 years from now, because this format is so thorough, and it does not have to worry about, like, for sometimes data compression algorithm tries to throw away except data. And again, if you upload it somewhere, and if they are not tampering with the name, this will be saved, but I can guarantee you except data would be thrown out. Many times except data are thrown out. So even though except data should keep all the metadata intact, this is the most stable way I know. That's why Lightroom uses this, and this is the naming convention you can have. So while you are importing file, everything will be taken care of. And because you are also storing camera sequence, that number will also be there. So if you're like, hey, 8,512 images, the one, okay, no problem, search that number. So importing, this is the first line. You start organizing from here. If you do not do that, it will become a hassle for you. Then we come to the editing side of things. Now it's more of a development. Now ironically, Lightroom means a dark room. There used to be a dark room that people used to build, and they used to develop films, negatives, and it works. Of course, that's how films were developed. So Lightroom, the idea is that you are controlling light, so you have Lightroom, so they directly copy paste this idea. Now in Lightroom, back in the days when they were developing negative, they could change the chemical formulation, and that will affect how the image were coming out. This has the same philosophy. It's not like, okay, create a layer, mask this part out, do this, and no. It's like, idea is you are holistically tampering it. Holistically, meaning if you are like feeling the image is a bit cool, you directly change everything about it. Now in modern variants, you do have mask control, and again, going quite far back, it had mask control. You can draw mask out, meaning if you draw a mask around the person and you're like, hey, I want the person to be a bit more warmer in skin tone, you can go YOLO on it. It can be done. Mask will give you far more precise control, but every setting is just like that. You edit the whole image or edit a one specific part of it. You do not have layers. It's not designed for that, and photographers don't even need that. With masking control, and not to mention, it does have some basically basic patch up tools, and it does have gradient, meaning if you want to, sky is overexposed, you can draw a gradient from there also. Those things are also there. Surprisingly large amount of control. And then we come to stupidly large number of sliders, meaning everything has a slider. Bonkersly large amount of sliders, like it will give you heart attack kind of sliders. It has sliders for everything, meaning just for noise, you click noise follow and 15 sliders for noise. Awesome output, yes. Hassle, yes, undeniably. So people generally make preset, meaning let's say you are doing a model shoot, you know the model, you know your camera, you edit your first image, you create a preset, and bam, you just dump that preset on like every photo shoot, and then you fine tune it. Or you can be like, hey, I studied my camera, I figured things out, then you created a preset for your camera and like bulk on that. Or you can be like, I like this sort of a poppy image when I'm sending it to Instagram, or I like this sort of bit subdued image because it prints better. You can have those sort of preset also. Again, specifically built for mass production, so to say, like batch file processing. And then we come to the realistic aspect, meaning let's say you are a wedding photographer and people are very anal about it. It's like, bro, you shot the photo, why it's not on my Instagram right now? So in those sort of time, people are like, they barely give you 1 day or 2 days before they start harassing you. It's like, where are my photos? So in those sort of time, this ecosystem is good, it's fast, but going through just that many slides is too tedious. So people use this sort of tool. This is Loop Deck. Now it's around 24,000 rupees in Indian. You can find it on different price in your country. The idea is that every slider is mapped here and it's hard locked, meaning this slider controls the contrast, this slider controls clarity, this controls exposure, this controls highlights, this controls whites. You get the point. So this sort of tool allows you to turbocharge your speed if you are working with hundreds of files. Let me be very clear. If you are working on hundreds of files, then this sort of puppy makes sense. If you're not, if you're like barely once in a while, or like, it's a hobby kind of thing, this sort of investment, if you have money, go, you'll learn it. If you don't have the money, don't worry too much about it. It's like, you can still do it, it's just tedious. But for some people who's like not too rich, but they still need to crunch a lot of system, this is a quite of a jank solution. We call it MIDI to LR. MIDI is a music industry standard that was designed for music systems, and they have basically mixer boards that could have knobs. Now these knobs modern days, instead of having potentiometer, they have encoder, meaning you can keep rotating them. So this, talking with the software MIDI to LR, dumps control of all those sliders into the knobs. Meaning now, and I have linked the video down below. Now if you have white balance in this, editor is this, and these are half the price. And you can buy even bigger ones, like where you have 24 knobs. Some are like really jonkers, electronically powered. Basically sliders are powered, the slider are connected to that. So if you go to a different image, you'll see slider physically move. So you can go bonkers on it. And if you are in a place where a lot of music industry is there, this sort of hardware would be almost free. So that's another thing. It will help you to turbocharge your speed. If you are working with large files and you really want to, impress your client, and you really want to help yourself not lose your mind on slides, investing in these sort of things may be a wise investment in long term. So this is the whole ecosystem of Lightroom. So this was my presentation on Lightroom. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.